And so, if we as humans do find the fountain of youth, then there would be some questions we would have to answer. These include, what if humans could conceivably live forever? Which brings up questions like, how do we deal with the population? Should we be allowed to choose who lives and dies? And wouldn't this be playing God? These are questions that would need to be answered as an issue of ethics and practicality, because a fountain of youth would drastically change many aspects of our human population, specifically how we live and how we die.
To understand how scientists are working towards the solution, we first need to cover some basic background information. The first thing you need to know is stem cells, which are unspecialized cells capable of performing a variety of functions. Another key concept is protein activation, which is interrelated to the fact that aging changes blood composition. We know that proteins found in blood change over time.
And here we have some graphics that give us more insight into the experiments that have given light to this fountain of youth, and that is young blood. We see in the graphic on the right specifically the connection of two mice to allow for connected circulatory systems. By connecting the circulatory systems of young and old mice, the older mice seem to have a reversed aging process. They gain qualities of younger mice, especially in their organ tissues. On the other hand, the younger mice experience a sped-up aging process, displaying conditions of mice that are older than they actually are. Scientists have very readily compared these experiments to a possibility for human trials.
The experiment continued. The older mice were revitalized in a number of ways by the parabiosis. Scientists found that growth-dependent factor 11 was responsible for changing an older mouse's swollen brain, which was a result of cardiac hypertrophy, to a normal size. The researchers also brain function. Furthermore, tissues and other organs were overall healthier at the end of the experimentation. We saw astounding effects. The human blood had beneficial effects on every organ we've studied so far.
The experiment continued. By comparing the blood of the younger and older mice, scientists were able to find one protein that appeared in the younger ones, but not the older ones' blood, and that protein is GDF11. By looking into this protein, they were able to find that this protein is responsible for neurogenesis. They tested the protein as a supplement for the mice and found it had many health benefits. Beyond what it did to the brain, it also revitalized the heart and other tissues. Scientists now want to use the human version of GDF11 as a supplement, and are looking into this possibility now. It works by triggering stem cells. The only fear is that by promoting this growth, it could also promote cancer, but it could still work great against other age-related illnesses.
Theories on aging. There are a number of other hypotheses that are circulating in the scientific community. Traditionally, most believe that aging is an irreversible process. The program theory implies that aging follows a biological timetable, perhaps a continuation of the one that regulates childhood growth and development. This regulation would depend on changes in gene expression that affects the systems responsible for maintenance, repair, and defense responses. The damage or error theories emphasize environmental factors that influence living organisms, inducive to cumulative damage at various levels, ending up causing aging. One of these theories is the wear and tear theory. Cells and tissues have vital parts that wear out, resulting in aging. Like components of an aging car, parts of the body eventually wear out from repeated use, killing them and consequently the body. However, scientists have yet to reach a consensus on the issue of aging, and it remains a very controversial field of biological studies.
This technology would do a lot for humans. There is the obvious, like how it would give people a longer lifespan. There would also be less age-related illness. These supplements should be able to either reverse the disease or stop it before it starts. Alzheimer's, arthritis, muscle deterioration, heart disease, and countless other afflictions would be a thing of the past. The quality of life would skyrocket for the oldest individuals of the population. This would also mean that less people die, and when less people die, the population will grow. This is a possible concern since the human population is already growing at an alarming rate.
Possibilities. Furthermore, this treatment has effects that counteract their effects on lifespan, such as cancer. Treatment also has a large and overwhelming effect on lifespan. The unnatural death would be the only cause of death.
Looking at the individual specifically, there are some pros and cons. In terms of pros, there are some obvious answers. There would be less age-related illness, which is obviously a plus. More than this, though, is that the quality of life would be much better. Muscles would be stronger, the brain sharper, and overall, the human tissues would be healthier, allowing individuals to be healthier. This would contribute to a feeling of youth. Lastly, it would allow individuals to have longer lifespans. There is one major con, and that is the possibility of cancer. It is hard to say how much it could affect one's chance of getting the disease, but it could very well increase this chance. An individual would have to evaluate this risk and decide if it is worth it for the reward.
Bioethical implications. There are a number of implications if this treatment turns out to be effective. The population would dramatically increase in size. Additionally, the population would become older. Governments with social programs, such as Social Security, would have to up the age of retirement to anticipate people working longer in lifetime. Additionally, one might ask the question whether insurance companies would be obligated to cover this treatment, or would there be an outside fee or additional cost? Finally, would there have to be limits on the number of kids that families could have to offset the increased lifespan?
So, looking at pros and cons, the good sides to a highly effective treatment would be less age-related disease that affect muscles in the brain. These would be issues that society would no longer have to worry about. Overall, though, these pros are mostly for the individual, who would live a much longer, more fulfilling life. In terms of cons, there are a lot of factors that would affect the human population. It would disrupt our natural life cycle. We would need to find some way to control the population. While the individual gains from these advantages, society is going to have to tangle with the aftermath.
Bioethical implications continued. If the treatment required blood transfusions to be effective, a number of controversies could arise. One might ask the question, would parents start to sell their kids' blood for money? Would criminals steal children for their blood? How would society respond to this new commodity? How often would older people need the blood? A plethora of questions and a Pandora's box of solutions.
These new ideas should create interesting opportunities for the biotech industry. This should become a new focus of the industry research. The sector is worth $200 billion annually, and this new therapy could allow certain companies to take a bigger piece of the pie. Since research and development is so expensive, the drug would have to be very lucrative to be worth the investment, and this drug should be. The development cycle does usually take over a decade, so it could be a while before we see these drugs on the market.
Our position. We believe that people should not be overly concerned with the development of this new treatment. It is most likely that this treatment will not be used heavily because of its adverse effects and overall viability, or lack thereof. We would both support its use in selective cases, but agree that mainstream use could have profound effects on society. In the future, however, the technology could suit the marketplace in a more ethical manner. We will be watching to see how the public reacts to the concepts, since many have never heard of it.
Sources. This script and presentation was created by Will Ryan and Jeb Burnett.
What protein has proven to revitalize tissues in rats? Is it A, selectin, B, elastin, C, growth-dependent factor 11, also known as GDF11, or D, hemoglobin? The answer is C, GDF11, which was shown to have positive effects in revitalization when done in rats.
Multiple choice question 2. What is a medical concern with these treatments? Is it A, cancer, B, muscle cramps, C, memory loss, or D, heart disease? And the answer is A, cancer.
And finally, the last question. What is the name of the system of gene switches? Is it A, the supergenome, B, the epigenome, C, the switch system, or D, the switch DNA matrix? You'd be correct if you answered B, the epigenome.